So, 6th versus 8th, 17 points apiece. Manchester United versus Tottenham, 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Listen, man, it's a massive game for both teams, for both managers. You know, you think of United's draw against Nottingham Forest, which was a poor result for me, and then you think of the fact that United could have easily got beaten. And to be honest with you, they could walk away from that game lucky and thinking to themselves that if it wasn't for an Amad Diallo wonder strike, it could have all been different. So yeah, it's a massive, massive game, man. Big up to Gamer, big up to Chris and Mark as well. So yeah, massive game for Ruben Amorim for me. As I said yesterday, I done the poll. So how many points in the short term does Ruben Amorim need to get from the 8 games? For me personally, 15 points I think is more than enough. Big up to Daniela. 15 points is more than enough. But I think the fact that the majority, there was 30, I think there's 37 votes, I think, in the end. The fact that 37, and the majority said 10 points out of 8 games, yeah, for me, that's just poor. There's no way I'm going to accept Man United getting 10 points in their next 8 games. Considering some of the fixtures there, there's a mixture of tricky games and there's games there that, as a United fan, you should be expecting to win that game, no doubt. So yeah, man, I think 15 points for me is definite. But yeah, look, starting with this game tomorrow at 12:30, Thomas Frank obviously definitely needs a result after last week's game against Chelsea, which, again, I didn't see the whole game, but from what I heard and from what I saw as well, yeah, Tottenham were poor, man. And again, it's one of them things. Obviously, midweek they got the winner. Was it against, who did they play in midweek? Was it Copenhagen? At home, they beat them 4-0. So yeah, they'll be going into this game, obviously more confident. But it's a massive game for both teams, man. Massive, massive game. And as I said, both teams on 17 points. 6th versus 8th. And I think what the incentive will be for both teams is the fact that whoever wins this game at 12:30 will go top. Will go second. 5 points behind Arsenal before Arsenal play later against Sunderland in what will be a tough game for Arsenal as well. So, yeah, man, there's a lot riding on this game. And again, we're going to go through how I think both teams will line up and what will be the key matchups as well. But yeah, listen, man, it's going to be 11 games. Obviously, after this is the international break. And then, obviously, it will definitely be resumed after that. But I think for so many reasons, United need a positive result. Because who they got after the international break? Forgot now. Who they got after the international break? Is it Crystal Palace? I think they might have Crystal Palace after the international break. And again, that is a difficult game because Palace are a very good team. So, yeah, man, as I said, I think definitely 3 points is a must for Ruben Amorim. But then again, 3 points is a must for Tottenham and for Thomas Frank. And as I said, both teams couldn't go up to second. To think that Manchester United, yeah, have been, for me, so poor this season. To think that United, could actually go second tomorrow before all the other teams play. I mean, if that's not showing you how poor, this league is, I don't know what to say. Because, as I said, Man United going second after how they've been this season. Again, I've watched every single game, bar the Sunderland game from the first half. And as I said, to think United could go second with a win is crazy. But listen, I'll take it. And I'm sure the majority of the fans will as well. So, but again, tough game against Tottenham, who can also go second. So, yeah, real tight game, but entertaining 2-2 draw, I'm thinking. Yeah, listen, I think, what's actually funny, yeah? Whenever I do a prediction so far, if I say United are going to lose, they end up winning. So I might just stick with that. To be honest with you, I might just say I think Tottenham 2-1. You know, Tottenham 2-1 for me. But let's hope United do win the game. But every time I say United to lose, they end up sneaking the draw or actually winning. But yeah, I'm gonna say Tottenham 2-1. Yeah, Tottenham 2-1. Big up to Fitz. Man United is crap. What team you support? But yeah, listen, I'm not gonna say we're not crap because we've got some very good players, but under this manager, you could possibly say that we are. So I'm not really gonna give you too much of a defense against that, really. Oh, so you're Chelsea, okay? So yeah, well, Chelsea drew a Carabag. Chelsea drew a Carabag. When was it on what's the day? Today's what, Friday? Was it Wednesday? They drew a Carabag. So I think they'll be under pressure to get a result. Who are Chelsea actually playing? Actually, big up to Barbara Joseph. Big up. Who are Chelsea playing? Who are Chelsea actually playing? I can't remember who they're playing. Actually, no, I did see who they play. Is it Burnley? No, not playing Burnley. Oh, Wolves at home. Okay. Wolves at home. I mean, that Chelsea have to win that, man. They have to win that. 3 points, no doubt, man. That should be 3 point, no doubt. But so yeah, man, I'm gonna go through Man United's lineup for me. And as I said, I think it's funny, because I can see this manager making at least 2 changes. At least 2. I think, as we know, Lemens is going to keep his place in goal. He'll definitely start in goal. I think the back three. This is where I think he could change it. And the thing with Ruben Amorim, yeah, is the case where when a team wins the game, he very rarely changes it. Yeah. But I think the fact that United drew this game and there's favourites of his that don't play, that didn't play, I can easily see him bringing those 2 back in. And I think there's no fan out there that would actually be surprised if it actually happens, And I think Harry Maguire, comes back in and he's going to replace Lenny Yoro. Don't be surprised if you see a back 3 of Harry Maguire, Matthias de Ligt, and Luke Shaw. Don't be surprised. Although I do think Yoro does play because I'm looking at the pace in the wide areas. And you know what? One of the key battles we're going to get onto anyway. But I'm looking at on that right-hand side of United's defence, who's likely to play there. I mean, you got a choice between Odebear, Xavi Simons, or is he going to play in the 10? They could play Kolo Muani out there. They could play. Yeah, I think. Nah, I don't think Mattis Tell will play there. So yeah, you're looking at Xavi Simons, Wilson, Odebear that will play out there. And if I'm looking at Odebear, for instance, Odebear has got pace. So Lenny Yoro against Odebear will be a good battle. And again, De Ligt is more than capable of handling Odebear if he does start out there. But I'm just thinking, does Amorim match it up like for like in that respect for Yoro to deal with whatever pace they've got out there? That's going to be an interesting thing. But I just got a feeling he's going to play Harry Maguire, and the fall guy is going to be Lenny Yoro. Because De Ligt has to play for me. He's been not only the best defender for United, but he's been, for me, one of the best defenders in Europe. Probably the best defender in Europe this season. Luke Shaw, we know he's going to play. And to be fair, Luke Shaw has been decent. The second half against Forest last week was poor, but Luke Shaw has been decent. So yeah, I think Maguire comes back in. I do think he does come back in, which is mad. But this manager will be itching to get him back in there, I believe. And Lenny Yoro, for me, is going to be the casualty for that. Wing backs. I think he might make one change at wing back. I don't think Dallo plays. I think Dorgu might come in. And again, the reason why I'm thinking Dorgu might come in, but it might be the same thing when I said, who was it that United played up against and they had someone, Yankuba Minte. Yeah. But again, Minte played on the left-hand side for Brighton, which was a bit weird because he does normally play on the right-hand side. But I'm thinking because Kudus is out on that side, does he play Dorgu to help Luke Shaw deal with Kudus's physicality and his pace? That's one thing he might look at. I think Dallo, how poor Dallo was against Forest, like he'd be very lucky to keep his to keep his place. But knowing this manager, obviously there's some report that come out the other days about their relationship as well, in terms of being long distance cousins or something like that, which I don't know why people put that out. It's pointless, But again, does Dallo play? He shouldn't, but this manager loves Dallo, so I think Dorgu does probably need to play to help deal with Kudus. But Ahmad for me definitely plays, no doubt. But it's whether he goes with Dorgu or goes with Dallo. And I'm going to say Dorgu plays. I think Dorgu plays because Dallo was that poor. And again, if you want to set a standard, set an example, where you can't play poor and keep your place, it'll be a better way to go about things by dropping Dallo. So yeah, we just have to wait and see what he does there. The two in midfield, I think there's no surprise. I mean, it's obviously going to be his tried and tested, and he's going to play with Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. And I think it's come to a point now where there ain't no point even complaining about the midfield two of Casemiro and Bruno, because the man just made it perfectly clear that he doesn't rate Kobe. There was reports obviously coming out saying, if he drops Kobe, that means he's dropping a performing player or some other nonsense he was coming out with. All this Kobe talk is just a waste of time. The facts are he doesn't rate Kobe in this system. It's as simple as that. And it's either Ineos move the manager on, if a couple of results do turn, even though it should never have come to this, or they move Kobe on. Like, it's either going to come down to one or two things. You either back Kobe Minu or you're backing Ruben Amorim. That is as simple as that. All this other talk about Amorim saying he needs to prove himself and all this nonsense. He's just saying that to appease fans. You know what I mean? The facts are he's not going to play Kobe. It's that simple. So yeah. So either Ineos sack this manager or back Minu. It's one of them things. So it's going to be Casemiro and Bruno in midfield, and then the one other change, because we know Mbeumo and Cunha are going to play. So this is what I'm saying. Like this team is very obvious in how it's being picked. You're looking at the fact. You're looking at the likes of Sesko and Lenny Yoro. I'll say Sesko, Lenny Yoro, and possibly Dallo or Ahmad. They're the changes that are being made from this manager. Everything else is more or less, you know what he's gonna pick. So it's either gonna be Lenny Yoro playing or Harry Maguire. It's either gonna be Dallo, Ahmad or Dorgu, and then it's either gonna be Sesko or Mount. That's quite obvious what the manager's doing. So for me, I think he drops Sesko. I do think he drops Sesko. I think Mason Mount comes back in. And again, the fact that United are away from home, I think if United were at home, I think Sesko would start. But he likes Mason Mount, and unless Mason Mount's carrying an injury, I think Mason Mount starts ahead of Sesko. But again, knowing what Ruben Amorim, the kind of character that he is, I can tell he might be thinking, everyone's thinking I'm gonna drop Sesko and just start Sesko and surprise people. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes and does that. But if we're being honest, I think if there's one change in that front line, he probably plays Mason Mount and then Cunha goes through the middle, and that's gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a massive problem because as we know, um, he's no good in. Well, let's say he's no good, but Cunha's more effective as a 10. You know, where he can get on the ball, drop deep. You know, and then ball carry as well. So yeah, Cunha's definitely going to be more effective as a 10. But if this manager wants to play Mason Mount, the only way he plays Mason Mount is which means Cunha has to play through the middle, you know. And then yet again, there's no Joshua Xerxes. So again, this his team selection tomorrow is gonna be interesting. But do not be surprised if you see Mason Mount and Harry Maguire come in, and the two players that go out will be Lenny Yoro and Benjamin Sesko. Again, the team that I will play will be a lot different. And let me know what team you would play in the chat as well. I see Mount possibly playing. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think he's. I think no one can say Amorim doesn't rate Mount because you can see clearly he does. And I definitely think Mount plays. You know, I think if Mount is fit, he'll either start the game or he'll definitely be coming off the bench. You know, and again, to think that this manager never made any attacking changes against Nottingham Forest is madness. You know, but as I said, man, I definitely think Mount will play some part in this game, and I think he starts. As I said, I think he does. I think he does definitely start. But yeah, it's gonna be a problem, man. And when I look at Mason Mount playing as well, Mason Mount really is in the team to do a job. That's how I see it. He's in the team to do a job. If I'm looking at what Tottenham will have at right back, and we'll go through their team in a minute. A Gaj has said, read my comment. Listen, don't come on here and tell me to read your comment. I'll read your comment as and when. You know what I mean? It's either you be patient or you can bounce. It's as simple as that. Like, don't come in here and tell me to read your comment. I'll read it when I'm ready. You know? So yeah, as I said, man, I think if you look at who Tottenham have at right back, you know, I think that will let me know. It will let me know that what he's thinking is, because if you're thinking of Pedro Porro is an attacking right back. You know, you look at Jed Spence, who defensively is better. So I think if Pedro Porro plays, I think he plays Mason Mount. Yeah. I think if Spence plays, I don't know if he plays Mount. I don't know. But yeah, it's one of them things, man. Who knows? Yeah. But I definitely can see Mount playing, man. I definitely can see him playing. But let's go through what's the name? Let's go through Tottenham's team. I would say Tottenham's team, Vicario in goal. Obviously the back four, Mickey van der Ven. If anyone hasn't seen Van der Ven's goal against Copenhagen the other day, what a goal that was. Yeah, Van der Ven's definitely going to play. And, you know, I think in Van der Ven and in Matthias de Ligt, you know, that could be, for me, that could be Holland's future defence. You know, they've got a lot of options in defence. Obviously, Van Dijk's still the leader there. But then you got Van der Ven and de Ligt. And you know what? Holland play the three at the back as well, yeah? I'll be very surprised if Holland don't go into the World Cup with Van Dijk, Van der Ven, and de Ligt all starting. Because I'll be honest with you, yeah? That is a formidable defence, I would have to say. And it's the defence that Liverpool should be playing, as I said, having Van Dijk in the middle of a three. But if you think of Van der Ven, left-footed centre-back, you know, got the pace to bring the ball out and to go on them foraging runs as well, playing either side of Van Dijk. And then you got Matthias de Ligt on the right-hand side, who's more of a solid defender than Van der Ven. And imagine those three, and if they play with the wing-backs, you know, you got Urian Timber, who can play probably as a right wing-back, left wing-back, Ian Matson. Listen, I'm saying now, don't sleep on Holland's team, man. Because Holland could have a serious team at this World Cup, man. You think of Reinders as well. You know, listen, they could have a serious team, man. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But I say yeah, Van der Ven, Romero's back as well. You know, there was talk about Tottenham going to a back three. You know, playing Kevin Danso, Van der Ven, and Romero. I don't think they play a back three against United. I think this is a must-win game for Tottenham. You know, probably even more than Man United need to win this game. So I see Tottenham going, you know, 4-2, 4-2-3-1, and going for the game. And I think they play Romero, Van der Ven. I wonder if Udogie plays. I don't know if Udogie plays. He hasn't been playing regularly. I think if Udogie plays, then they might play Pedro Porro, or they might go Jed Spence left back and then Porro right back. Who knows? But it depends. It depends really. Midfield, you know, they're possibly going to play João Palhinha and Rodrigo Bentancur. I think Bergvall obviously is Udogie's been injured. Yeah, I know, but I think he's back now. But you know, I prefer seeing naturally left-footed players at left back and the same at right back. You know, it's you know. I'll tell you what's crazy. Yeah, you often see right-footed left backs. Yeah, but you very rarely see left-footed players playing right back. Very rare. But yeah, he's been injured. He's been injured, Udogie. But I wonder if he comes back into the lineup. But midfield, I think João Palhinha and Bentancur will play. And for me, it's probably too defensive, but maybe Tuchel looks at it as a platform to build on, and then you can afford to play a more luxury number 10 in a Xavi Simons. You know, I reckon if he had a Maddison or possibly a Kulusevski in the 10, he probably, I don't think he'd probably play Bentancur and Basuma as much. I think when you're playing Xavi Simons in the 10, who, you know, needs the confidence and the luxury to just get on the ball and do things, having that insurance of having two players there is probably what Thomas Frank's thinking. That's what I think he's doing. But yeah, I definitely think he'll go with them two. And I think, by all accounts, Simons played well against Copenhagen, so he might even keep his place, you know. And then on the left, as I said, you got a choice between Odebear. Simons can play out there. Kolo Muani can play there. Pretty sure they got someone else as well. Who else they got? Mattis Tell won't play, so he won't play out there. I reckon they go Odebear out there, you know. But then on the right is where it gets interesting, and I think this could be a key battle as well. Mohamed Kudus. For me, Mohamed Kudus is one of the best right wingers in the league, without doubt for me. And I think his battle up against Luke Shaw could be the battle of the game, because Luke Shaw is very good defensively, but Kudus is just durable. You know, he's a menace. You know, he's consistent as well in terms of wanting to attack his fullback or his left side centre back in this case. So I think that battle between Kudus and Luke Shaw could be the key battle in the game. And that's why I think he might play Dorgu to help out with the physicality side of it, you know, because Luke Shaw's going to need help out there, 100%. So I think Kudus will be out there. You know, Brennan Johnson has, I think Brennan Johnson might be an option off the left-hand side, but I think Johnson might be on the bench. And then going through the middle, he's got a choice between the shithousery of Richarlison or Kolo Muani. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if he plays both Kolo Muani and Richarlison. I think he might play Richarlison, and I'll tell you why. Because Richarlison, for me, he's one of them strikers that he'll unsettle a defence. And this is why I think Harry Maguire might play. Because I think if Richarlison plays, Amorim might look at the fact that Harry Maguire could win the aerial battle between them two. And obviously Harry Maguire is experienced. So that's something to look at. I think if Kolo Muani plays, he might even give Harry Maguire problems because of his pace. So yeah, man. Listen, I wonder what Thomas Frank's gonna do. Um, who started midweek? I think Colin Mawani started midweek. So I think Richarlison. Yeah, I think Richarlison might even play through the middle. So do you know what? In actual fact, I think Harry Maguire will start then. I think Harry Maguire starts. I think Lenny Yoro will be on the bench because I think he's going to look at Maguire's experience, especially because they're away from home as well, and he'll look at the fact that Maguire could get into a physical battle with Richarlison, you know, and then you got the options from the bench of Colin Mawani. So yeah, you know what? Yeah, based on that, I think Maguire starts now. You know, I'll be very surprised if he doesn't. So yeah, I'm gonna say he does now because of that. Let's go through some of the comments. So I know I'm sticking my neck out, but I do believe you guys are back on it, and with one or two signings, as a few players will be leaving in the summer. So Amarim will look to blood them before next season. I don't know where to go with that. Do I think United are back? No, I don't. Has there been promising signs in terms of results? Of course, because to be unbeaten in 4 games, you know, is a positive. But to say that we're back and to say that Amrim's gonna blood players for next season, who's he blooding? That's what I want to know. He ain't blooding no players. Like, I'm not sure where that's come from, but he's not playing any of the youth players. You know, again, when I'm saying youth players, I'm saying players that have come from the academy. He's not playing any of them. There's only one of them in the actual squad anyway, which is Manu, and Manu is not getting game time. So blooding who? I think if any Man United fan is serious, Amarim's playing survival football right now. He's just trying to survive because the way he's performed as a manager since he's come here, you know, he hasn't really got any breathing space. So as soon as United lose a game, he's going to be under pressure. As soon as they draw a game where they should win, he's going to be under pressure. So the only way Amarim can keep fans or keep the criticism low is to continue winning. So he ain't got time to blood players in because he's under pressure. You know what I mean? So in his head, he's just gonna play the majority of the players that he feels can win him a game, which is why you're not seeing the likes of Xerxes, because he'll look at Xerxes as someone that he doesn't really rely on scoring a goal. So when I see things like this, he ain't building nothing really. He ain't building nothing. He's just trying to survive. And as a manager, if you're just trying to survive, what is the point of them keeping hold of him? Like, he's just trying to survive. And I've just seen as well, guys, he actually got manager of the month for October. And you know why I'm laughing, yeah? You know why I'm laughing? Because this is what I mean, yeah? This is what football has become now. It's become very much, you know, ignorance to the bigger picture, I would say. The fact that Amarim, you know, has the worst win percentage of any Manchester United manager, the fact that the team have been poor since he's come here, he wins 3 games and wins manager of the month. Now, again, if we're looking at context, yeah, should he really win manager of the month? If we're being honest, he shouldn't. So, again, it's just crazy how football works, man. It's crazy how football works because, again, I've been very aware to how it works anyway. So a lot of things don't surprise me. And again, a lot of conversations people don't want to have because it's uncomfortable, you know. But as I said, man, I've been well and truly switched on to how things are working, you know. And that's a prime example. You know, he's got manager of the month for winning 3 games. And all 3 of them games, if we're looking at the Sunderland game, the Liverpool game, and the Brighton game, I believe it's those 3 games. Like, would you really give him manager of the month? I mean, yeah, the results were good, but shouldn't manager of the month be your team has performed well and you've won? But United haven't performed well. They just got results. But again, context hasn't really been put to this. So it's madness, man. It's madness. But Yeah, it is what it is. I wanted Liverpool to sign Kudus. He's really active. Yeah, listen, Kudus is a very good player, man. Like Kudus or Mbuemo should have been the replacements for Mo Salah. But for me now, and again, if you guys haven't seen my stream on Yankuba Minte, Minte is the ideal replacement for Mo Salah. Ideal replacement. So again, if you haven't seen that stream, go over and watch that, and it tells you. I'll tell you why. For me, he's the main player to replace Salah, and I'll be very surprised if they're not actually identifying him right now. Because when Salah does eventually go, and I think this will be Salah's last season, they must have a list of targets, Liverpool. And what I would say is, looking at the list of targets in terms of African descent, left-footed, the physicality, the pace, he would fit into a Liverpool team as well. They've got experience of buying from Brighton, Alexis McAllister. He ticks every box as to why they should go for him. So I'll be very surprised if he isn't top of their list for me, But he should be at top of the list for quite a few teams, I would say, But yeah, he's a very good player, man. Very good player. So it's two-way for Spurs. If they score first, they can push for a win or a draw, especially that they haven't been good at home the last couple of games. But if United score first, Tottenham are in for a long game. Mbuemo and Cunha can pin that back line further back, allowing Bruno and Casemiro enough room to move the ball through the centre. Yeah, but again, this is the problem. If Cunha plays in the 9, Cunha's going to come to the ball. So there ain't going to be any space. This is the problem. This system creates its own problems, because if you're going to play Mason Mount and play Cunha in the 9, Cunha's naturally going to want to drop back. He naturally drops back anyway when he's playing as a 10. So if you're saying Bruno and Casemiro to allow them to have more time on the ball, just playing Cunha in the 9 ain't going to happen. He's not. Because what's going to happen is that Cunha's going to get frustrated without getting the ball. Not to mention he naturally drops deep anyway. And then you're going to be having Bruno trying to put long balls into areas. Now, the problem with playing Cunha through the middle, yeah, is that Bruno's so hell-bent on playing the long ball, he's only got that ball to play to either Mbuemo or to Patrick Dorgu if he plays. Because they're the only two that are probably the more willing runners. So, again, team selection is going to be key. If he plays Dallo and he plays Mason Mount, then the only outball is going to be Brian Mbuemo. That's a fact. Because Ahmad does run, but Ahmad's more of a ball-to-feet player. Cunha's a ball-to-feet player. Mason Mount is more of a ball-to-feet player. So you've only got Mbuemo that's going to want to run in behind. So again, that's not gonna create the spaces for Casemiro and Bruno. The only way that happens is if you probably play a Sesko, because Sesko does want to go the other way, and that might create a bit more space in the midfield. But if he plays Mount and Cunha, then yeah, it's gonna be tight. And again, I've spoken about this. A few of you have spoken about this before already. His team selection is his biggest problem, and how he identifies players. Because if you're going to play this three at the back and you want to play counter-attack, yeah, Sesko should really play, in a sense. I mean, I don't agree with counter-attack, because I'd play Xerxes all day long as the 9. But if you're going to play counter-attack, you need to probably have Sesko and Mbuemo both playing. Yeah, or have Patrick Dorgu on the left-hand side if you're not going to play Sesko. So at least you've got Dorgu and you've got Mbuemo as willing runners. So yeah, that's something to think about, man. That's something to think about. So I'm not saying he's the best option. What I'm saying is Amorim is your only option. Well, that's not true, is it? How can he be our only option if there's other managers in the league that we can go and get? Yeah. Amorim isn't the only option. The problem is that Ineos or certain certain people in Ineos have identified Amarim, as the manager. But the problem is he doing the job to the best of his capabilities? No, he's not. He's not. Like, and no one can deny that. He isn't doing a good job. I'd argue that of anyone. So the thing is, they might want to save face and not sack him. But the problem is, when you're a manager and you're just in survival mode, like, what's the end result? You know what I mean? Again, yesterday I done a short and long term vision for Amarim if he makes it that far. The short term for me would be the next 8 games. If he does make it that far, 15 points for the next 8 games. The majority want 10. And to be honest with you, 10 points from 8 games is poor. For the amount of money that United spend, for the squad they've got as well, 10 points from those 8 games won't be good enough. 15 he has to get for me. And in the long-term vision, I'm looking at inside the next 2 years, Man United should be top 4 consistently, and maybe even have a title challenge in there somewhere. People might look and think that's never going to happen. And I would say under this manager, you're right. But this is the long term. This is the long term targets I think should be set, because I don't think Man United are a million miles away from competing. I don't think they are. I'm looking at the players that United have already, the likes of De Ligt, Euro, Dorgu coming through. Luke Shaw's still there with his experience. But if I'm looking in the future, De Ligt, Euro, Dorgu, Lemens in goal, Kobe Mainu, Mbuemo, Cunha, Ahmad, Xerxes, Sesko, and then you go and get some new recruits. You got some of the youngsters, Sekou Kone, who might come through. There's talk about Shea Lacey, JJ Gabriel, and then you go and add to that. Man United are not a million miles away. I'm telling you. I think the only way people will say that they are is due to this manager for me. Because this system long term for me is not going to work. Not with the players we have. Not with the players we have, because these players are just doing their job at the end of the day. But I don't believe any of them are comfortable in this formation. And as I said, I've already spoken about it plenty of times. Man United need to be playing a 4-2-3-1. Because I'm telling you this now, with the players we have, Ahmad in the 10, Mbuemo on the right, Cunha on the left, Xerxes as the striker, and then you can have Kobe Mainu back in his 2 in midfield, but in a different role. And then in the summer or in January, you go and get a Baleba, a Walton, an Anderson, players like that, and you keep improving. You'll find that very quickly. I want Camavinga, of course, but that's just not unlikely to happen. But you'll find that very quickly that Man United are not that far off, and I truly believe that. Brother, Spurs' biggest achievement in the last 20 years is beating Man United in Europa League. You need to relax. I'm guessing that was to someone else. But, yeah, listen. The fact that Man United got beat by Tottenham in the Europa League, I'm never gonna forget that, because that was just poor. And the thing is, the reason why that was poor is because the manager, it was his own doing. The substitutions, the substitutions were just poor. At what point do you not realize that you need to be making changes? And he made the changes so late and just had no impact. So again, that was poor, and he should have been sacked after that season that United had. And then to get beat in that final, he should have gone then. But the fact that he survived so far. And again, I'll say it one more time. If United beat Tottenham tomorrow in the early game, they go second. I mean, that is just madness. Man United second after being that poor. But what I will tell you is that it shows you how tight this league is at the moment. Because there's like a point or two between a lot of teams. So everyone's just beating everyone, The one consistent team you would say is Arsenal, which is showing by the points total. But again, that could all come crashing down very quick. Again, I agree. I agree. I agree. Sunderland's manager, Regis Labrie, he should definitely got manager of the month. Because who would have had Sunderland in the top four? I think they're top four. Are they top four now? They might be fifth. Let me check. Um, so yeah, they're fourth, Sunderland. Who would have had Sunderland in fourth? You see what I mean? But yet Amarim gets it because they won 3 games in a row, which again, there's no context being applied. And again, just going through this league table, yeah. Between 11th and 2nd, yeah, there is 4 points. So Aston Villa in 11th to Man City in 2nd, there's 4 points. It just shows you that this league is up and down. Up and down. So, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. So, there's a long, long way to go, man. Long, long way to go. And even Brentford are on 13. Newcastle and Everton are on 12. You know, if those two teams put away 2 wins in a row, yeah, if those two teams put in a couple of wins in a row, you'll find out very quickly, yeah, that this league table is just crazy. As I said, Arsenal the only team you can say that are showing a bit of consistency, and even them, they haven't been great. But this league table's mad. Look at that. Palace are 9th in on 16 points. If Palace win their game, they're going to the top 4. Chelsea win their game, they're in the top 4. Tottenham are in the top 4. You know, it's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. So from Palace upwards, any of them teams can go in the top 4. Like, it's a mad, mad, mad season so far. But again, we're only 10 games in, 11 coming tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out, man. So it's an award for October. Why shouldn't he win it if he simply had the toughest schedule and pulled off the wins? Well, if it's the October, name me the teams they played in October. Name me the teams they played in October. Because as I said, it's not about having the toughest schedule. I'm more looking at, does he deserve to win it, and not for me, because I think if you're just solely looking at the results, what do I think manager of the month should be just based on results? I don't think it should be. You know, I don't think it should be, because let's say, for instance, yeah, let's say Wolves played Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and they managed to avoid defeat in all 3 of them games. Why wouldn't the Wolves manager get manager of the month? Because he's played 3 of the toughest teams in the league and hasn't lost. Why couldn't he get manager of the month? So again, if we're looking at Amarim getting manager of the month because he won them games, why should he get it because he won them games? Where's the context? That's all I'm saying, man. You know? That is all I'm saying. So S7 says the manager is not the issue. LVG and Mourinho were class managers winning Champions League and league titles. The issue is recruitment. That's not true. The issue is recruitment. I agree. The recruitment hasn't been great. But if you're looking at LVG should have never been sacked in the first place. LVG was only sacked because Mourinho was available. And then what happened is that because Mourinho was known for winning titles, they just got rid of LVG, even though LVG was building something to bring in Mourinho. So, again, recruitment is a problem. I agree. I definitely agree. But to say that Amarim's not an issue, he is an issue. He is. He was an issue. Ten Hag was an issue. Like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You know, recruitment has been a failure. I 100% agree with that. You know, I'm looking at recruitment right now of what Ineos are doing, and I'm happy with the recruitment, because the only bad recruitment really you could say is Manuel Ugarte. But in terms of everything else, yeah, they've been doing a good job, so it's been better. But to say the managers are not the issue, like, I don't agree with that, because no one tells Ruben Amorim to not make any attacking changes against Nottingham Forest when they're not even winning the game. You know, No one tells him to play Diogo Dallo, week in, week out. No one tells him to play Mason Mount week in, week out when he can. You know, no one tells him to play Bruno Fernandes as a two in midfield. These are all choices of the manager. So again, he is part of the problem. You might say he isn't the sole reason, but he's definitely a problem. He's definitely an issue. Like, I'd argue that with anyone. He definitely is. Because when I'm looking at the players United have at their disposal, and he uses the wrong ones consistently, you can't tell me that the manager's not the issue. He is. LVG for me wasn't an issue. He wasn't. Mourinho was. I agree. Even though Mourinho won trophies, and again, it just shows you how backwards we've gone, because you've now got a manager that lost the trophy Europa League final, and this club is happy to keep him. Like, it's madness. But as I said, LVG for me should definitely have been kept on, man. No doubt. When he got sacked, I wasn't happy for one, because he was building something. He was definitely building something. And let's not forget as well, he didn't have half the money that all these managers have had. But he was definitely building something. So the fact that they sacked LVG was part of the problem. Yeah, listen, the squad is more than capable. Like, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, man. The squad is more than capable. If anyone thinks this squad isn't capable of getting in the top 6 as a minimum, then you're lying to yourself. The reality is this manager's not good enough. That's all it is. Because I guarantee you, if you go and give this team, different system to a Glasner or to an Iraola in this league, they're going to get you top 4. I can assure you that. This manager won't get us top 4 or top 6 because he ain't good enough. It's as simple as that. Camavinga to replace Casemiro next season would be an incredible bit of business. Big up to Fitz. Fitz, that'll be my dream, man. That'll be my dream. Camavinga's one midfielder that I've wanted Man United to sign for years. When he was first coming through at Rennes, if anyone remembers him at Rennes, when he made his debut at 15 or 16, and he had number 10 on his back as well for Rennes. That's when I said to myself, this guy will end up at Barca or Real Madrid. Because you can just see, when you're making your debut at that young, and you're just running games in midfield like that, you're going to end up at one of the bigger teams. And then when United were interested in him, what happens? Real Madrid come calling and he goes to Real. So yeah, if Man United could get Eduardo Camavinga, I think Camavinga is only what? I want to say 22 now. He's only 22, yeah? This guy, I'm telling you now, if he stays fit and he plays regularly, he's gonna be he's one of the best in the world. He's up there with Caicedo, Vitinha, and Pedri, Frankie De Jong. He's up there with them, no doubt. So yeah, he'll be the dream, man. But whether Man United are looking at him, I don't know, man. But if there was any hint, yeah, of him being available, Man United just need to just go into that ring and pay what's required. They have to, they have to pay what's required for Camavinga. But who would you get if Amarim's gone? Everyone always asks this question. You know what I mean? Who would I get if Amarim's gone? Just give me a manager that wants to play a 4-2-3-1 and play the best players. That's the most simple answer I can say. I've answered this so many times and it's repetitive. But yeah, man. Listen, just go and get me a manager that wants to play a 4-2-3-1. So if a player does not perform in 2 to 3 seasons, we need to get rid of them. All the top teams do this. I agree with that. I do agree. Because that what that does is set a standard. I actually agree with that. It sets a standard, yeah? But what I would say, I'm not of the opinion of getting rid of players that are not given chances. So that I'm not with that opinion. But if a player's not performing, get rid. I in 2 to 3 seasons, I agree. I agree. But if I'm looking at Man United right now, who's been there for 2 to 3 seasons that hasn't performed? You'd probably say Ugarte. He's the standout one. Mason Mount to an extent as well. I know he's been injured, but Mason Mount's had decent games, but there's a lot of games where he's on the periphery and not doing too much. So I would agree to that. But at this moment in time, there ain't too many players that I would say have had chances and you can say that they should be cleared out because Xerxes for me has been there for what, 2 seasons. He's hardly had any chances. Um, who else is there? It's probably about it. Yeah. If I'm looking at Man United right now, what tip players need to be cleared out? Bruno Fernandes, Manuel Ugarte, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, Dallo, and then you would keep Harry Maguire because Harry Maguire as a backup, you can do worse with that. But those players need to go. That's a fact. You know what I mean? I'd argue anyone that says anyone else needs to go because I'm keeping Xerxes, I'm keeping Sesko, Mbuemo and Cunha is a no-brainer. Ahmad's a no-brainer. Kobe Mino I'm keeping. I think Casemiro, for his experience, if you could lower his wage, I'd keep him for another season for his experience. Mazraoui, I'm keeping. Lenny Yoro, I'm keeping. De Ligt, I'm keeping and making the captain. Patrick Dorgu, I'm keeping. And then you got the likes of Heaven, who's there as well as Young. Cheeto. I don't rate Cheeto. I'd put Cheeto on loan. So yeah, that's what I would do, man. So my prediction versus Spurs is 6-3. Crazy. 6-3, you know. Boy, if it's 6-3, man. 6-3 to who though? That's what I want to know. But if it's 6-3, then listen, you'll be due something good, man, because to get that spot on is crazy. 6-3, you know. Yeah, it is wild. I agree. It was a disgrace sacking LVG. Like, sacking LVG is part of the problem. That is when United's downward spiral started. Because I'm telling you this now, people were getting bored of watching Louis van Gaal's teams, you know. But if you see what he was building, you think of when Martial come through, he was using the younger players from the youth. And again, he never had none of the money to spend that half his managers had. But he was building something, Look at what he done when United went to Anfield. Bossed the game, won the game. So he was building something, but the fan base and the management just got excited because Mourinho's available. And they had this thing with Mourinho, he wins trophies, etc. But what you need to realize about Mourinho did win trophies, but he was never a long-term manager because he needs players that are ready now. Man United had a lot of players there that needed nurturing, especially the likes of Rashford and Martial who were coming through, So again, the fact that Van Gaal was sacked for Mourinho, look at where we are now. Tells its own story, Amorim has to play Dallo because it might be awkward when they sit together at the Christmas family dinner table with all their mutual cousins. Yeah, listen, man, I've heard that, but yeah, if that's the case, then he's definitely not the manager for United, man. Get rid of him right now. Yeah, listen, the clear out list is not really difficult for me, man. Like, I've been calling this for ages. Like, it's not really news to me, really. I've been calling it for ages, and the fact that some of these players are still here, this club ain't serious, because if we're actually being honest here, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire was in that list, but then I look at if Harry Maguire's a backup and he comes in every now and again, I'm not too fussed. You know what I mean? But if I'm looking at what it will cost to replace Maguire, then you're better off just keeping him if he can lower his wage. But for me, Luke Shaw, Ugarte, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, those 4 players there are the main players that have to go. They have to go. Getting rid of Garnacho, getting rid of Højlund was a massive plus. Obviously, Rashford's on loan as well. Yeah, they needed to be done. But the 4 players that I've mentioned, Mount, Bruno, Luke Shaw, and Dallo, They're 4 players that play under this manager. That's part of the problem. So until the club remove those players, expect the misery to continue, man. That's what I would say. Big up to Exedra. Big up, my guy. Big up. So I only see Tottenham Hotspur winning tomorrow. Um. Yeah. Well, listen. I'm not gonna go against that, man. I'm gonna say Tottenham 2-1. You know. I just don't see Tottenham losing this game. I know they've been poor, but I think at home, you know, the way Thomas Frank will probably set them up as well. You know, I can't really see them getting beat. But listen, man, it's going to be an interesting game because both managers cannot afford to lose this game. So I think based on that, I think a draw is probably a safe result. But I reckon one of the teams nick it, and I think it might be Tottenham. David Moyes was the downfall of United, not Jose. I disagree. What I would say, David Moyes shouldn't have been employed in the first place. That's the very first thing. So I'm not even gonna look at David Moyes because he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And as we know, he was only employed because he was Ferguson's friend. You know, Scottish. You know, he had that affiliation there. The one thing I look at David Moyes for is that at least David Moyes was trying to identify top players, the likes of Gareth Bale. You know, he wanted Thomas Muller as well. He wanted a lot of top players he wanted that he couldn't get. But to say that he was the downfall, I don't agree because he shouldn't have been there in the first place. The downfall started was when they sacked LVG to bring in Mourinho. Because on paper, it looks like, yeah, let's get Mourinho because Mourinho's Mourinho. But just knowing Jose Mourinho, he's not interested in building teams. And you clearly saw that. You know, if you're looking at 2 of United's brightest young players in Martial and Rashford, what's the first thing they needed? A Louis van Gaal to develop them, not a Jose Mourinho. Because Jose Mourinho has no interest in developing players. As I said, he needs the ready-made players. So that's where it started for me. 100%, that's where it started. Blame Sir Alex Ferguson for appointing David Moyes. Yeah, why can't we? Why can't we blame Alex Ferguson? Why? Why? You know what I mean? Ferguson's one of the greats. Let's not get it wrong, yeah. But his decision to say to United to go and get David Moyes was poor. It was. Like, no one can deny that. He was poor. It was poor. Like, look at the managers that were available at the time. Yeah. You know, Carlo Ancelotti should have been the manager of Man United. You know, any top, if you're losing Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, who's one of the greatest managers of all time, you don't go and get David Moyes. You don't. You go and get someone that is either the same level as Ferguson or slightly under and keep it moving. You don't go and get David Moyes. Simple as that. So, yeah, man. So LVG gave players like Seedorf and Kluivert their debuts and nurtured them in their development. Imagine what he could have done for players like Rashford and Mainu. Bro, there you go. Imagine, look at what he could have done for Martial. Like, Martial come through, offered a recommendation, I believe. Was it off? There's a recommendation. I can't remember who it was. But listen, Martial had a Ballon d'Or clause in his contract for a reason. Yeah? Don't look, if you're putting the injuries to the side, yeah, Martial's path was that. But the fact, when they sacked Louis van Gaal, that's when Martial's career went down. Like, people don't want to see it, but that is what happened. Because there's no denying that when Martial first came, Louis van Gaal was turning him into a superstar. He was. You know, and this is a guy that at 19 years of age scored 17 goals in all comps in the foreign league. Name me a player that's done that going to a different league in their first season that scored that amount of goals. Tell me. You know what I mean? So as I said, man, the fact that Van Gaal was sacked is where the problem started for me. Spurs attack is so arse that we might win. Yeah, I mean, that's the only positive. But what I would say, yeah, is you see Richarlison, I think he starts tomorrow. And I think this is why Maguire will play, because Richarlison's a shithouse. Yeah, so he's gonna try and rough up, pressurize the defense. So they might look at that as a way of getting a foothold in the game. So yeah, you have to wait and see, man. Big up to Exedra, man. Happy birthday, my guy. Big up, man. Big up. I'm sure everyone will join me in wishing you happy birthday as well, man. Big up yourself. Yeah, his talent ID was mad. Yeah, Seydorf, Kluivert. There was more as well. There was more. I forgot their names now. Didn't you have Van der Sar as well? Who else was that? Who's that right back for them? Not Rice-Cigar. Yeah, listen, he brought through some players, man, no doubt. Listen, I like Unai Emery. Emery's a good manager. He is. He's a very good manager. Very good manager. Yeah, listen, I agree, man. Pep should have been the one that came in. Pep should have been the one that came in. He should have been the one that came in. But listen, our loss is Man City's gain. That's what I will say. Bro, listen, Martial was ridiculous, man. He was ridiculous. Like, what the thing is as well, yeah, Martial was being compared to Henry before Mbappe. Even though Mbappe is nothing like Henry, Martial was closer in terms of how he played. But again, Manchester United is what killed Martial. Manchester United. Just like they kill a lot of players. Yeah, Ronald de Boer, Frank de Boer. Listen, man, that's bringing back some names now. But yeah, Man United killed Martial's career, man. They did. I've just watched an Ahmad compilation. I'm convinced he's our best player now. Bro, if you've only just realised that Ahmad's our best player, where have you been? Like, just watch how he plays, man. And he's doing this at wing-back. I don't think people are deep in what a joke Ahmad playing at wing-back is. Like, that's the equivalent of playing Lamine Yamal at wing-back. You would never do that. Like, this is how out of depth how out of touch this manager is. He's playing arguably our best player at wing-back. I've never heard it. I've never heard it. Like, you don't play your best players, your most talented players at wing-back. Wing-back is the position on the pitch, yeah, that you just don't want to play because it's just an unforgiving task. You would play. I'll give an example, yeah. You see someone like a Gary Neville, and Gary Neville will probably admit this first and foremost, yeah. Gary Neville had, limited ability, but he worked hard. He worked hard at his game, etc. Yeah, Gary Neville is an ideal player to play wing back because he's a willing runner and he's selfless. When you're playing Ahmad as a wing back, someone that is technically gifted, the fact that he's got an engine is what kind of works against him, which is why Amrim keeps playing him there. And again, people will say, the wing backs are important in this system. The facts are, don't play this system. That's what I'm saying. Don't play this system with Ahmad. Ahmad needs to be playing as a 10. Simple. Simple as that. Edgar Davids, yeah. Who was Jari? Who remembers Jari Litmanen from Finland? Jari Litmanen. Top player, man. You don't get players like that too often these days, man. Jari Litmanen. Nah, Mbeumo in the 9. Nah, let's not do that, man. Mbeumo's not even playing in his position right now. That's the problem. Yeah, listen, I agree. Compilations and that, but with someone like Ahmad, you don't need compilations. You can just watch the way he plays. Watch the way he plays. Ahmad is like an upgraded Nani. No, he's not, man. No, he's not. He's not. Nah, he's not, man. For a start, they're both different foot. You know, one's left-footed, one's right-footed. And Nani was underrated, man, to be fair. But yeah, he's not an upgraded Nani. Like, I don't think that's a disrespect to Nani. Nani was a top player. He was. You know, once Ronaldo went, Nani kind of came out of his shell. You know, if anyone remembers that game at the Emirates, where Nani just dinked it over whoever they had in goal. But it's a little the little Cruyff turn thing he done. Nani was a top player, man. So yeah, I'm not gonna have that. He's an upgraded version of Nani. They're both good players in their own right. You know. So I mean, they both have power of both feet. They are ambidextrous. I hear what you mean, but Ahmad's not ambidextrous. Ahmad's left-footed. Like Nani was equally. Not Nani was good with his left foot. He was, but Ahmad's right foot is not as strong as Nani's left foot. So Nani off both feet was better than Ahmad. Yeah, listen, Yari Lippmann was a top player, man. Top player. Like, that's what you call a number 10. Not these frauds in football now, the Jude Bellinghams of this world. Like, when I'm seeing players like Lippmann, Totti, Del Piero, Zidane, Rivaldo, you know, Messi, Ronaldinho, Neymar, these guys I've probably forgotten. Bergkamp. Like, these guys are number 10s, not Jude fucking Bellingham. Like it's just a joke, man. It's an absolute joke. Gav, Haaland for Vinny. What do you mean? How can you do Haaland for Vinny? Ahmad needs to hit the gym. Bro, Ahmad's stronger than he's probably as strong as the likes of Saka and Gyökeres. I mean, Kai Havertz, you've got in the listen, let's not do that, man. Don't look at Ahmad and think he's weak, man. Like, it's being strong is about knowing how to use your body. Like, there's football strength and there's normal strength. On a football pitch, it's about knowing how to use your body. That's all it is. That is all it is. But Waka, why do you think Gyökeres is why is it why are you in disbelief that Gyökeres is stronger than Ahmad? What are you basing it on? What are you basing it on? Like, this is what I want to know. Yeah, Kanu as well. Like again, you're saying come on, but what are you basing? Why do you think Gyökeres is stronger than Ahmad? Where's the evidence to say that he is? Why? Because he looks like a builder. Is that what you're basing it on? Yeah. You man have got Jack Swagger up top, and is that why you think he's stronger than Ahmad? Like, it's about knowing how to use your body. I wonder who won Player of the Month. Haaland must have won Player of the Month. Mbuemo won Player of the Month. 3 goals and an assist. Fair enough. How old is Ahmad? Ahmad is 23, I think. Let me check. I think he might be 23. Yeah, 23. How old's Gyökeres? I think Gyökeres is what, 27? Guys, what's your predictions what's your predictions for Man United and Tottenham before we wrap up? Saka is 24. Yeah, and Ahmad's levels above him. What's your predictions, guys, for tomorrow's game, 12:30? Not sure if I'm doing a watch along yet. Not sure because I might have to go out, but I'm gonna try and catch the game 100%. But I'm not sure if I do a watch along. 3-1, yeah, to United. 3-1. Optimistic, man. Optimistic. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think United score 3 goals against Tottenham. You know, because Tottenham defensively are decent. You know, and they're gonna sit in as well. So they're gonna sit deep, not allow too much space. And again, I think what's interesting for this is why, yeah, I'm gonna be just to see how United play, because when you've got Van der Ven at the back, yeah, pace ain't a problem. So if United want to play the ball over the top, Van der Ven's so quick, like there ain't there ain't no one really that can live with his pace. So I don't think Tottenham would be worrying about that. And if you think of Christian Romero as well, Romero's physical and he wants to compete. So if you're gonna play, and again, this is why I think Sesko gets dropped. You know that, because Romero, like, you know, I think he might be looking at the fact that Romero might want to try and rough up Sesko. You know, obviously it's his first. It's a game that's away from home. It's his first season. You know, all these things might come into it. So they won't be worried about the pace in behind for me, especially if Jed Spence plays as well. That left hand side of Spence and Van der Ven has pace. So Mbuemo might be nullified in that aspect. If you want to go physical, Romero will do that. You know, they might get joy on the left-hand side in the channel between Porro and Romero, because obviously Porro defensively ain't great and Romero's a bit of a hothead as well. So they might get joy on that side, but that's why I want to see what team he plays, Amarim. Saka 24 and Laguna still call him a boy. Yeah, it's because it's part of the PR, man. It's part of hyping Saka up. We know what it is, man. We know what it is. Saka's a good player, man, but let's just leave it at that, innit? You know, when I'm hearing world class and all this other stuff, yeah, these people don't know what they're talking about, man. It does depend on how we set up. It does. The midfield and attack's going to be crucial for me because, as I just mentioned, yeah, look, Saka is levels above. Look at his numbers. Yeah, you see what you got to deal with. Whenever I hear people talk about numbers, like, I just switch off, man. The game's gone. But yeah, no, I think the way we set up tomorrow is gonna be interesting. How would I go tomorrow? I will go if you're playing this formation, I will go in the way that he's not gonna go. Put it that way, yeah. I would play Xerxes as a striker, Cunha from the left, Ahmad as a right 10, and then play Mbuemo at wing back. Mbuemo's more suited to playing wing back than what Ahmad is, because Mbuemo has the wing back role is meant for legs in a sense, and out winger. You know, Mbuemo's more of a winger than what Ahmad is. So I would play that way, but he's not going to do that, obviously. But if he plays Mount, Cunha, and Mbuemo, I think United struggle if he plays that. You know, but it's a possibility. So Waka should be an accountant, always talking about numbers. He probably is, man. He probably is. You have to produce to get the numbers. Yeah, he probably is an accountant, man. It wouldn't surprise me, but listen, you know, we have to just be patient with Waka because his team are top. You know, they're going good in the Champions League. It's looking very good. Gabriel Jesus is now back, you know. So Gyökeres, the builder, might be on the bench for the next game. So, yeah, listen, man, it's looking very good for Arsenal. But they got Sunderland, which will be a tough game. And let me tell you this now, as I said, man, there's a long, long way to go. Long way to go. So let's just see at the end of the season what happens. You know, and if Arsenal happen to win a league or Champions League, which they won't, then I'll be the first one to say, do you know what? I was wrong and well done to them. But listen, we've seen it happen before, man. We've seen it happen before. You know, I heard quadruple. Quadruple. That's what I heard. Like, the actual cheek to say quadruple when they haven't won a single doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, that's Arsenal fans for you though, innit? So we'll have to just wait and see what happens, man. But guys, listen up. Big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. Sixth stream. Make sure you guys smash the like button on the way out as well. And make sure you guys sub to the channel if you're new in here. And again, make sure you share the channel as well. So again, game day tomorrow, 11:30. Not sure if I'm doing a watch along yet, but as always, big up to Niche fan. As always, make sure you give a check on the schedule, or just check your notification to see when I do go live. But yeah, nah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a watch along yet, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, big up to all the mods. Big up to all the newcomers as well, coming through and interacting on with the channel. And yeah, big up, man. Big up yourselves each and every time. And yeah, I should catch you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.